of Vincennes University's electronic media program. This is News Center 22.
The city of Vincennes has elected a new mayor. Good evening for News Center 22. I'm Cameron Riddle. Democrat Joe Yoakum is the mayor-elect of Vincennes. A longtime Vincennes fireman won with 65% of Tuesday's vote. He says he's thankful and ready to start his new job.
I appreciate the voters that turned out and showed their support for me today. It's really exciting, and I know I've got a lot of work ahead of me between now and the first of the year so that I can get with the council, and whenever January 1 comes, we can hit the ground running and do what we can for Vincennes.
Yoakum won over former mayor Terry Mooney, who served as mayor for 2 terms, ending in 2010. Yoakum served as Mooney's fire chief. At a recent candidate forum, Yoakum said voters told him the levy, city pool, and city finances were the top issues that needed to be addressed. The City Council District 1 seat will remain in the hands of Democrats as a longtime councilman Don Kirk retires. Chuck Sebring won the position with 60% of the vote over Republican Steve Madden. Sebring says he knows that doesn't happen often, but he was at a loss for words after learning of his win.
Staged a comeback. You know, we fought hard last year, didn't quite pull it out, but we staged a comeback. I can't say enough good about the campaign. Both campaigns, myself and my very honorable opponent, Steve Madden, we ran clean as friends, and we walked out as friends.
In Council District 2, incumbent Democrat Pat Clark easily won re-election to his seat with 64% of the vote over Republican challenger Eric Burke. In one of the closest races in Tuesday's election, Democrat Scott Brown held on to defeat Republican opponent John Stengel in the City Council District 3. Brown received 54% of the vote to Stengel's 49%. The 2 incumbent Democrat Vincennes council members at-large candidates were also re-elected. Dwayne Chatton, and Shirley Rose were able to overcome Republican Brian Grove, each with 34% of the vote. Tim Salters was the only Republican to win the contested Vincennes City Council races. Salters won 54% of the vote to beat out Democrat Tim Thompson in the District 5 race. Salter, who is 27 years old, says he believes his young age will bring a fresh perspective to the council, which could positively affect younger members of the community as well.
Well, we have a lot of people that are my age that are looking for opportunities and looking for things in other places. And I would love to see them have those opportunities here and have the ability to stay here and keep young people like myself in this area.
Salters will take over the District 5 seat, which is being vacated by his father-in-law, Mark Hill. Hill is retiring after serving on the council for 16 years. Salters will be sworn in with T.J. Brink, the only other Republican on the council. Brink ran unopposed in the municipal election to win the District 4 seat. And former city councilman and current county councilman David Culp is the new clerk-treasurer for Vincennes. The Democrat won over Republican Christy Keller with 54% of the vote. Washington Mayor Larry Hague thanked the citizens of Washington for their chance to serve as their mayor for the last 4 years. Hague fell in Tuesday's election to Republican Joe Wellman, who won with 130 votes. Hague says he'll work with Mayor-elect Wellman to continue to prepare Washington for the coming growth spawned by the current I-69 highway construction. Former Indiana House Speaker John Gregg is planning to officially launch his campaign for governor this weekend. On Saturday, Gregg plans to start the day in his hometown at the Sanborn Park at 9 a.m., just before heading to Indianapolis for an afternoon rally. It was in May that Gregg announced that he would run for the state's top office. The Indiana Democratic Party endorsed Gregg's run back in August. The first ever test of the emergency alert system was conducted earlier today. Officials say the purpose of the test is to assess the reliability and effectiveness of the system. The EAS replaced the former emergency broadcast system in 1994 and was put in place as a way for the president to address the entire country in the event of a national emergency. Before today, the system had never been tested nationally. The Indiana Railroad Company will celebrate the movement of its 2 millionth carload of revenue freight this week. It took the Indianapolis-based railroad 18 years and 9 months to haul its first 1 million cars of revenue freight from March 1986 to December 2004. The Indiana Railroad hauls a variety of industrial and consumer products for companies in central and southwestern Indiana, as well as central Illinois. Still to come on News Center 22, some are concerned about the relationship between the U.S. and Israel after comments made by President Obama. We'll explain. And it's been 22 years since the crumbling of the Berlin Wall. We'll take a look back at that pivotal day when we return.
Next time on POV, who are the young Americans who fight our wars?
I basically just asked all my friends if they were interested in making money. Just know there's like almost 10 of us now.
And what happens to the families and towns they leave behind?
If something happens to one of them, just think how devastating it'll be to the whole group.
Where soldiers come from, only on POV.
Coming up this week on WVUT's 22 magazine, find out what's in store for the Vincennes University men's and women's basketball teams this upcoming season. My guest will be VU men's coach Todd Franklin and Lady Blazer coach Harry Meeks. We'll profile the players and break down the upcoming schedule as both teams look forward to producing another winning season of Trailblazer basketball. That's the next time on 22 magazine, Saturday night at 7:30 on WVUT TV.
Most public figures know when you're wearing a microphone, you should always act and talk as if that microphone is on. But evidently, President Obama and his French counterpart forgot that age-old mantra at last week's G20 summit. Now their conversation is making headlines of its own. Brianna Keller reports.
An open mic during last week's G20 summit caught President Obama and French President Nicolas Sarkozy complaining about Israel's prime minister, according to a report by Reuters. "I cannot bear Netanyahu. He's a liar," said Sarkozy. Obama, according to a French interpreter who was translating his remarks, replied, "You're fed up with him, but I have to deal with him even more often than you." The president didn't exactly come to the defense of Netanyahu, whom he most recently saw at the UN in September. It's not surprising, says Martin Indyk, who served as U.S. ambassador to Israel during the Clinton and Bush administrations.
Reveals the inner feelings of the president towards Prime Minister Netanyahu. I don't think it's any secret that these two leaders have not gotten on, basically, from their first meeting on.
And an Oval Office encounter this past May further revealed the frosty relationship between the leaders.
While Israel is prepared to make generous compromises for peace, it cannot go back to the 1967 lines.
Netanyahu essentially lecturing a stern-faced President Obama. Today, White House Press Secretary Jay Carney, in an off-camera briefing, would not comment on the open mic gaffe. He instead stressed the president's support of Israel, most recently in opposing a vote to give the Palestinian Authority membership in the UN's cultural agency, UNESCO, a move France supported.
America's commitment to Israel's security is unshakable.
It's an embarrassing incident as both the U.S. and Israel keep a close eye on regime changes in the Middle East and on the growing threat of a nuclear Iran. But, says Indyk, it may have no real effect on U.S.-Israel relations.
It's unlikely that these personality differences that have been highlighted by this mic that wasn't turned off are going to infect the coordination on Iran. If you like, the subject is too serious to be affected by personalities. They agree on the nature of the threat, and they also agree on the way to deal with it, that is by ratcheting up sanctions.
President Sarkozy's office had no comment on the exchange, nor did Prime Minister Netanyahu's office. It was 22 years ago today that a key symbol of the Cold War came crashing down. Here you see video of people tearing down the Berlin Wall on November 9, 1989. You'll remember that the barrier separated democratic West Berlin from communist-controlled East Berlin and the rest of East Germany. It was built to stop millions of East Germans from escaping into the West in order to save on the economy on the verge of collapse. Between 1965 and 1989, more than 100,000 people tried to get over the wall. About 200 were killed, up to 10,000 actually succeeded. There was a failed smuggling attempt in Starr County, Texas this week. Multiple law enforcement agencies were on the scene after Border Patrol agents say they saw more than a dozen people in the river with a load of drugs. The alleged smugglers apparently tried to go back, but agents notified Mexican authorities. A gun battle then broke out on the Mexican side, and one man was shot. Authorities say he will survive, and an investigation is underway. More than 40,000 people switched to credit unions on Saturday as a part of a movement called Bank Transfer Day. It started with anger over proposed fees at Bank of America and other big banks that wanted to charge debit card users. The bank changed their minds on the fees, but resentment already had caused some customers to leave. The Credit Union National Association says in the past 5 weeks, an estimated 650,000 people joined credit unions, which often have fewer or lower fees. Toyota is recalling 420,000 vehicles in the U.S. because of a potential power steering problem. If the system fails, the car could suddenly become much harder to steer. The cars involved are some 2004 Toyota Avalons, as well as some 2004 and 05 Camrys, Highlander SUVs, Sienna minivans, Solara convertibles, Lexus ES 330 sedans, and RX 330 SUVs. The 2006 Lexus RX 400H hybrid SUV is also included in the recall. No accidents or injuries have been reported. Owners will be told if their vehicle needs to come in for a free repair. November is Diabetes Awareness Month. Every 17 seconds, someone new is diagnosed with the disease. The vast majority of these cases are type 2 diabetes, a condition that can often be prevented. Paul Chambers has more in today's Health Minute.
The American Diabetes Association is on a mission to put an end to diabetes.
We believe there will come days without complications, childhood without intrusion, parenthood without fear, life without diabetes. This is what Stop Diabetes is all about.
Type 2 diabetes is the most common form of the disease, a chronic condition that affects the way the body uses glucose, the body's main source of fuel. As obesity levels have risen in the U.S., so have the rates of type 2 diabetes.
The more obese people are, the greater that risk is.
But type 2 diabetes can often be prevented by maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Experts say start by eating healthy foods, including plenty of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. These are high in fiber, which helps control blood sugar levels. Get at least 30 minutes of exercise a day. And when it comes to weight loss,
losing 5 to 10% of their body weight is sufficient to actually reduce their risk of developing diabetes or, in fact, to help control their diabetes.
Complications from diabetes can lead to a wide range of health problems, from heart disease and stroke to kidney damage and blindness. But making healthy lifestyle choices today may lead to a healthier tomorrow. For today's Health Minute, I'm Paul Chambers.
It was a very windy Wednesday. Hopefully everyone walking on campus were able to keep their feet on the ground. Jane Flores is here now to let us know if this chance of us getting blown away will continue. Good evening, Jane.
Well, Cameron, it was quite a windy day today as we saw gusts up around 36 miles per hour, but you still need to hang on to your hats as the wind is expected to keep it up for the next couple of days. I'll have your complete forecast when we come back. Stick around.
From the south